Hi there, everyone. My name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. This is going to be the second album in a row, if you're one of my regular viewers, that is a brand new release. This is an interesting one for me because this is the first album from this band that I have ever listened to any extent to form a real opinion, per se. Tracey is a huge fan of Helloween. I've got a whole assortment of Helloween to listen to and eventually get through. But their brand new self-titled album is the one that has been sitting in the CD player for a considerable amount of time now because it's brand new. And honestly, it's an album worth listening to. Let me get into this a little bit here. So, power metal. I don't know a whole hell of a lot really about Helloween. And I find this album interesting because there's parts of this album makes me think that it's supposed to be a concept album, but I'm not entirely sure if at any point it really is a concept album or not. And as I go through the songs, I'll kind of explain. So the album opens with "Out for the Glory," pretty atypical power metal song. You know, got a lot of get up and go and a lot of speed to it. It doesn't do much for me as an individual song, but as a kickoff on the album, it gets things going. And from there goes into Fear of the Fallen, and it really, the way they go, they kind of feel like they should flow into each other, right? And then that goes into the next track. Now, when we get to the next track, that's where the album really picks up for me. Now, before I get too far, one of the reasons I really kind of get into this album and I dig the sound on this album is, to me, this album sounds like when Bruce Dickinson was solo working with Royce, and when he did Accident and Birth and Chemical Wedding. There's a sound on here that sounds very similar to that, and actually I was surprised to see that he wasn't the producer on this album, Z that is, because it does have that sound to it. It's a really cool sound. I dig this sound. Very power metal-y for sure, totally power metal-y, but at the same time very thick and heavy. Like there's some real thickness, some real heaviness to this. Like the production, where they put the sound, where they chose to do it, how they chose to mix it. It's impressive. It's impressive. Gives it a really dark edge and a real heavy edge. Like I really kind of. I don't like to throw it around loosely, but I want to say very kind of, like Zeppelin esque heavy, Metallica esque heavy, real kind of that thick heavy. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. Sorry, I'm trying to do this in one take. Okay, so track 3 is Best Time. I really like Best Time because Best Time is the first time on this album where you hear something that doesn't just sound like straight up power metal. And I really dig it. I really like the vibe and the flow of this song. It really kind of, it's cool. It's enjoyable. Your average listener could dig on that too. Then you get into Mass Pollution. Mass Pollution, I like this one because now Mass Pollution, we're getting into some real kind of different kind of from everything else on this album kind of music, a little more jagged, a little more metally, a little more Megadeth, and less less Bruce Dickinson solo, you know. That's kind of where I want to go with it when I hear Mass Pollution. And I really like what they do with the song and how they play with it and the energy of the song, and it really works. That goes into Angels. Angels is a really cool tune as well. I can go either way with Angels. Part of me when I'm listening to Angels is me going, um, it hits certain points in the song and I go, why is it every song about angels always has to have this kind of light, fluffy part to it or something like that? A lot of me listening to this album actually has been me out riding my bike or my bird to and from work in the last week until I broke the hand. Now it's just while I'm out walking around playing Pokemon Go. So Angels isn't bad. I don't mind it. It's been pretty decent. Rise Without Chains. Rise Without Chains, we're more back to a typical power metal album. But I like the lyrics more a little behind this. The only problem is I find that it's a little too cliche power metal. I really hate the cliche power metal double bass drum. Like it's the same beat in every song kind of thing. Like it just drives me nuts. So, Rise Without Chains, I both get into it and I both dislike it at the same time. That goes into Indestructible. Indestructible, wow, this one's got some guitar solos on this one, man. When I listen to Indestructible, it is the guitar solos that really, truly get me going and really, truly have me listening and enjoying this song. There is some great shred. And I like a shred that works within a song, and all the shredding on this particular track totally works within this song. Really get into what they do on this song. And speaking of the shredding and that, going with the guitars and how cool the guitars and that can sound, when you get to the next track, Robot King, which once again I'm gonna get more into that concept album thing momentarily. If you haven't kind of picked up a little bit of the theme from where we started going on here, Robot King is both humorous, because it's kind of got that Mr. Roboto kind of Robot King, kind of thing going on, which I don't mind, because let's face it, Mr. Roboto is a little fun, right? So I don't mind that kind of vibe to it, but what really impresses me is actually the way that the guitars play on that song, and the effects that they use. They really give it more of a computerized not mechanical. Like, I don't want to give it that, but a computerized. It makes me almost think of an old dial-up modem in some ways. Not that it sounds wicked bad, like but it has that digital kind of sound to the way the notes are sound as they're being played. It's really, really well done, and you can hear it's done with effects, obviously, but the guitars themselves and the notes that they're playing to while they're creating this, it doesn't sound like an array of bullshit, but it actually sounds like a really good solo. But it makes you really feel like you're in the song, and it is a robot, and it goes with that. That goes into Cyanide. If you don't like power metal, I don't know if you like Cyanide or not. Cyanide is it's not a bad tune. It's just, for me, it's a little too cliche, power metal-y a little bit. Then we get into Down in the Dumps, which I think is pretty decent. once again, we're back into that very power metal thing. Then we get in Orbit. Orbit's really cool. Now, Orbit's just kind of like this like little nice interlude piece. It's only a minute and change. It's not supposed to be anything major. But we get to the last track, and if you're one of my regular viewers, you know that to me, the last track on an album really matters. And the last track on this album delivers. A lot of bands will put like their longest song on the album at the end, and they'll do it because, you know, if you're an album listener, you're going to listen all the way through, and you're going to want to hear some big grandiose thing, right? Skyfall is fantastic. It really, really is a superb song. And the transitions through it, like, you get a lot of power metal, but then, you know, like, you get definitely into some major thrash, okay? Like, they really thrash it out. Skyfall is very alien oriented, very, very alien oriented. Great kind of almost space epic. Hangar 18 mentioned in there. When they get into Hangar 18, I don't know if they do it as an homage. I don't know if they do it as a tribute. I don't know if they did it just unintentionally. They get very, I don't want to say, when I say they get Megadeth sounding, I don't mean that they're ripping off Megadeth in Hangar 18 or anything like that. But there is definitely some love, I want to say, being shown there. Now, I mentioned concept album. So, I haven't read the inside of the book, okay? I haven't read the actual lyrics. I've just listened to it. Normally, before I would have done this interview, I would have taken out the book to read it briefly beforehand. It's hard to do in my hand right now. It's just, it's a really thick book. So I'm assuming there's either a lot of pictures in there or there's a good story in there. The way I take it as a casual listener listening to it, it sounds like Out for the Glory starts off with, you know, it was maybe a bunch of people out, you know, battle and whatnot, you know, something like that. Fear of the Fallen, you know. It's this story that kind of goes on where, you know, Best of Times is kind of celebrating after all this hardship, stuff like that. Which leads into this giant mass pollution because they destroy the planet during wars. You know, think about what we did, you know, dropping nuclear bombs, stuff like that, all these horrible other things that have just come out of mass production, stuff like that. I'm not sure about exactly how Angels would work in there. Rise Without Chains would be, you know, rising after all this stuff has happened. You know, you got to rise up again, and you got to kind of whatever. I'm not sure exactly with Indestructible how that works into it. And then you get to Robot King, and you know, that whole technology kind of rising up to take over kind of thing, and Cyanide, I would imagine, would be, you know, kind of like an attempted genocide, which leads to Down in the Dumps, and then Skyfall, or then Orbit, which, you got the aliens up in there, and then you got Skyfall. It's, I know I'm doing a really piss poor job of trying to even get this concept across. You have to listen to the album to really get it. If there is a concept, I could be totally wrong. There might be no concept. I might be overthinking it slightly. I have no clue. I really, sorry. I'm not invested enough in Helloween to do a whole lot of that research at this moment. What I will say is this album is enough to make me want to listen to more Helloween, to get to explore more Helloween. I think this was a good introduction album, at least for me, to get into Helloween. I'm happy that I've finally done the review for it, so I can take a break from listening to it for a while, because I've been listening to it way too much lately. I wanted to be mentally in frame for this. It is a power metal album at its core. It has some great kind of thrash elements to it, and some great heavy, newer digital production age elements to it, which really makes it sound thick and heavy. A thick and heavy that, it's just like, yes. It definitely has a darker edge to it. But the band is Helloween. What do you expect? So, it's some pretty cool artwork I like on that cover there. It's not bad. So, yeah, this is Helloween, their 2021 self-titled album. I dig it. I think a lot of other people out there might dig it as well. If you like Judas Priest's Angel of Retribution, Bruce Dickinson's Accident of Birth or Chemical Wedding, Iron Maiden's Dance of Death, Megadeth Cryptic Writings has an air to it, definitely. There's some good comparisons, some good vibes there. If you like all that, kind of swirl it all up together, it works. Anyways, that's my views, folks. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Otherwise, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Peace, love, and take care.